He bought a broken alien ship thinking it was scrap. It was alive and stubborn. The scrapyard sprawled across the edge of the trading planet Leros 9 was no different. Towering stacks of starship hulls leaned like sleeping giants, and cables hung like vines from their wrecked sides. The smell of burnt circuits and ozone filled the air, and the low hum of neglected machinery was constant, like the heartbeat of a forgotten world. Ethan walked slowly, his boots crunching over metal scraps and shattered glass. His eyes scanned every pile, every half-buried engine, every bent wing or cracked hull. Most people would have walked past this place, seeing only junk, but Ethan had an instinct for recognizing potential. Something about a ship that looked broken, yet elegant, always called to him. That's when he saw it. It was wedged between two massive cargo freighters, half buried under a collapsed roof of metal beams. Its shape was sleek, almost organic, with smooth curves that no human design could match. Its hull was scratched and dented, and a faint layer of dust covered it, but the lines were beautiful, unlike any starship Ethan had ever seen. "Looks like scrap," muttered the auction clerk when Ethan asked about it. "Nobody wants it, too much trouble." Exactly. The auction was nearly empty. Traders milled about, shouting over each other, mostly bidding on cargo containers and salvageable parts. Ethan raised his hand and made a low bid. No one challenged him. Within moments the ship was his. He grinned. "This is going to be fun," he whispered to himself. The scrapyard manager handed him a flimsy keycard. "Don't get hurt. It's old tech. Nobody knows if it works." Ethan ignored the warning. His curiosity was already afire in his chest. The interior of the ship was darker than he expected. The hull seemed almost alive, shifting slightly under his weight, corridors bending in ways that didn't make logical sense. Panels clicked softly as if welcoming him. He ran his fingers over the smooth surface of the control console. It was warm. "What?" Ethan's voice trailed off. Then the lights flickered. A soft hum filled the room, deep and resonant like the low purr of an enormous animal. The displays on the console lit up, showing strange symbols and shapes that moved too fluidly to be simple projections. Ethan stepped back, heart racing. The ship, it was alive. Ethan's mind tried to rationalize. Ships didn't have consciousness. They were machines. They obeyed commands. They didn't respond to touch or glance. But this was different. A panel slid open gently under his hand, revealing a small holographic orb that floated before him. The symbols danced, almost like they were trying to communicate. Ethan raised a hand slowly as if touching it would break the fragile connection. Nothing happened. Then the orb pulsed. A soft vibration ran through the floor, up his boots, and into his body. The ship was aware of him. It was testing him. Ethan swallowed hard. His instincts told him to run. Most humans would have, but Ethan was no ordinary human. He had spent years fixing broken tech, learning to understand machines in ways most people could not, and he had a stubborn streak a mile wide. "I guess we're talking then," he said quietly. The ship responded by shifting the walls subtly, creating a path deeper into its interior. Ethan hesitated, then followed. Every step felt like walking into a living organism, corridors curling around him in patterns that were beautiful and unsettling. He reached the main chamber. The ceiling arched impossibly high, with what looked like a star map etched into the metallic surface. The walls pulsed softly with energy, and the floor beneath him vibrated rhythmically. The ship seemed to be breathing. Ethan knelt to examine the control console. The symbols were like nothing he had ever seen, a mixture of shapes, colors, and flowing patterns. He tapped on the panel gently. Nothing happened. He tried again, harder. A soft glow responded under his fingertips, like the ship was acknowledging his touch but refusing to obey. "Stubborn," he muttered, smiling. For hours, Ethan explored, poked, and tested the ship. He tried powering it up. Nothing worked. He tried pressing every button and lever. The ship ignored him, but it didn't feel hostile. It was simply independent. As the sun set outside, casting long shadows across the scrapyard, Ethan leaned against the console and laughed softly. "You're not going to be easy, are you?" The ship responded by making a low, melodic hum, almost like a chuckle. Ethan froze. He hadn't expected that. "You're alive," he said, more to himself than to the ship. "Not just tech. You think." The response was subtle. The lights on the floor shifted, forming a pattern that looked almost like an arrow pointing to a panel he hadn't noticed before. Ethan went to it, brushing away dust. The panel opened, revealing what looked like an energy core. It pulsed gently, sending ripples through the room. "You're beautiful," he whispered. He knew he couldn't fix it in a day. Maybe not in a month, but he didn't care. He had stumbled onto something extraordinary. The ship wasn't scrap. It wasn't a prize. It was a companion and maybe even a friend. Hours passed and Ethan grew tired. He sat on a fold-out bench, eyes never leaving the glowing core. The hum of the ship was steady now, like a heartbeat. For the first time, he felt a strange connection to something not human. The ship moved again, subtly shifting a hallway behind him. Ethan didn't jump this time. He understood instinctively that the ship wasn't threatening him. It was curious, testing, waiting. He smiled. "Tomorrow we'll start talking properly." But the ship had its own idea. As Ethan left the chamber, the corridor behind him shifted, closing off one exit and opening another. A small, almost imperceptible barrier appeared, preventing him from leaving the main area. Ethan frowned. "Okay," he said. "You're not going to let me go that easily, huh?" The ship hummed, a soft rising tone that seemed almost playful. Ethan laughed aloud, a sound that echoed through the corridors and bounced off the metallic walls. Hours turned into days. Ethan stayed, sleeping in the small quarters he set up inside the ship, eating from supplies he had brought. He experimented with the panels, tried to decipher the symbols, and occasionally spoke aloud to the ship, asking questions in English, joking, narrating his thoughts. The ship responded in ways small but unmistakable, lights pulsing, corridors moving, panels opening and closing at the right time. It was learning him just as he was learning it. Then came the first breakthrough. Ethan was fiddling with one of the ship's power conduits when the energy core pulsed brightly, and a section of the floor rose to meet him, forming a platform. Symbols appeared above it, arranging themselves into a pattern he could almost understand. It wasn't language, not exactly. It was thought made visible, feelings made tangible. The ship wanted him to do something. Ethan studied the symbols carefully, touching the floor where they glowed. The platform vibrated gently under his hands, and a door at the far end of the chamber slid open. "You want me to go in there?" he asked. The ship responded with a low hum, like a yes. Ethan took a deep breath and stepped forward. The air inside the new chamber was warmer, almost alive, and the walls shimmered with soft, flowing energy. The ship was showing him a part of itself it had never revealed before. "This is incredible," Ethan said, awe in his voice. He realized for the first time that this wasn't just a vessel. It was an intelligent being, and like any being, it had secrets. The chamber contained a strange console, far more advanced than the one outside. It pulsed with energy and responded immediately to Ethan's touch. He pressed a button cautiously. The ship vibrated beneath him, a sensation that ran through his arms and legs. Images appeared, strange and beautiful, alien landscapes, star systems he had never seen, creatures with impossible forms. The ship was showing him its memories. Its past, its home. Ethan stepped back, overwhelmed. "You've seen so much," he whispered. "So much more than any human could imagine." The ship hummed softly, almost like it was proud to share. But even as he marveled, Ethan noticed the subtle stubbornness again. The ship resisted giving full control. Every attempt he made to activate the engines or unlock navigation met a gentle refusal. It was as if the ship wanted a partner, not a pilot, a friend, not a master. Ethan smiled. "I can work with that." Night fell completely over Lero's 9. The scrapyard quieted down. Ethan lay on the fold-out bench, staring at the glowing energy core, feeling a bond forming that he could not explain. He had bought what he thought was a scrap ship. Instead, he had discovered something alive, something stubborn, something extraordinary. Tomorrow, the real adventure would begin. The sun rose slowly over Lero's 9, casting long shadows across the scrapyard. Ethan had barely slept, his mind alive with thoughts of the living ship. He sat on the fold-out bench inside the vessel, sipping lukewarm coffee and watching the soft glow of the energy core pulse like a heartbeat. The ship was quiet this morning, but not inactive. The walls shifted subtly around him, the corridors bending gently as if the ship were stretching after a long rest. Ethan had learned that it didn't like being rushed. Every action had to be approached carefully, with patience and respect. "All right," he whispered, running a hand over the smooth console. "Let's see if we can get to know each other a little better today." The ship responded immediately. A section of the floor lifted, revealing a new console with symbols he had never seen before. They moved fluidly, almost like water flowing over stones. Ethan crouched down to study them, his fingers tracing the glowing patterns. He felt a thrill of excitement. This was more than a machine. It was alive, and now it was inviting him to communicate. Over the next few days, Ethan experimented with different ways to connect. He tried speaking aloud, writing symbols in the dust, touching panels in rhythm with the ship's pulses. Slowly, he began to notice patterns. Certain gestures or touches caused specific responses from the ship. Lights would glow in harmony, corridors would shift to create new pathways, and panels would open to reveal hidden chambers. It was like learning a new language, but this language was alive, dynamic, and unpredictable. Every success brought a small thrill. Every failure brought another lesson. One morning, while Ethan was adjusting the energy conduits, the ship responded in a way he had never seen. A section of the floor beneath him rose slowly, forming a platform that carried him to a higher level. The walls around him shimmered with energy, revealing a panoramic view of the scrapyard below. Ethan could see the tops of other broken ships, the rusted hulls, and the distant mountains of scrap. "You're showing me your world," he said softly. "Thank you." The ship hummed, a soft, melodic tone that vibrated through the platform. Ethan felt a connection, a sense of understanding that went beyond words. He realized that the ship was curious about him as much as he was curious about it. As days turned into weeks, their bond deepened. Ethan began to understand the ship's moods. It could be playful, moving corridors in unexpected ways to surprise him. It could be cautious, refusing to activate certain systems until it trusted him. And it could be proud, revealing parts of itself that were beautiful, complex, and completely alien. One afternoon, Ethan discovered a chamber he had never seen before. The door slid open silently, revealing a room filled with glowing panels, holographic displays, and strange floating symbols. He stepped inside cautiously, feeling the floor vibrate gently beneath his feet. The ship pulsed, and a series of images appeared before him. He saw distant star systems, alien cities built on towering cliffs, and creatures with shapes and colors beyond human imagination. The ship was showing him its memories, its history. Ethan's eyes widened. "You've seen so much," he whispered. "So many worlds, so many lives." The ship responded with a gentle hum, almost like it was proud to share. Ethan spent hours exploring the chamber, learning about the ship's past and the civilizations it had encountered. He realized that this vessel was not just a tool. It was a library of knowledge, a guardian of memories, and a being with its own experiences and wisdom. But the ship remained stubborn. Despite showing him its history, it refused to let him control its systems fully. Every attempt to activate the engines or navigate the corridors was met with resistance. It wanted a partnership, not obedience. Ethan smiled. "I get it," he said. "You don't want a master, you want a friend. Well, that works for me." He spent the next days teaching the ship about humans. He shared stories of Earth, of human inventions, humor, and creativity. He told it about simple things, how humans liked music, art, and storytelling. Slowly, he saw changes in the ship's behavior. The lights pulsed in patterns that mimicked laughter, corridors moved playfully, and the panels responded with more freedom. The ship was learning from him, just as he was learning from it. Their first true test came unexpectedly. Ethan had been exploring a hidden control room when the ship suddenly shivered. The energy core pulsed rapidly, and the walls shifted to form a narrow corridor leading to the main hangar. Ethan followed, sensing urgency. The hangar doors were closed. The ship's lights danced wildly and a low hum filled the space. Ethan realized it was trying to communicate a warning. Something was approaching. He couldn't see it yet, but he could feel the tension in the ship. "All right," he said, taking a deep breath. "I trust you. Let's see what's out there." The ship responded by opening the hangar doors slowly. Outside, the scrapyard was quiet, but Ethan sensed movement. A group of scavengers had arrived, curious about the ship. They stopped at the edge of the yard, whispering to each other, pointing at the vessel. Ethan stepped forward, hands raised in peace. "This ship isn't for sale," he said firmly. "It's my friend." The scavengers laughed, thinking he was joking. One of them stepped closer, reaching for a panel. Immediately, the ship reacted. Corridors shifted, walls moved, and the floor vibrated. The scavenger froze, startled by the living nature of the ship. Ethan smiled. "See, you don't get to touch it unless it wants you to." The scavengers backed off, murmuring among themselves. The ship's lights returned to a calm, steady glow. Ethan patted the console gently. "Good job," he said. After the encounter, Ethan realized that the ship wasn't just alive, it was protective. It had instincts, preferences, and even a sense of humor. It could be stubborn, yes, but it could also trust and cooperate. That evening, Ethan decided to try something daring. He wanted to see if the ship would fly. He had learned enough about its systems to attempt a basic takeoff. He activated the launch sequence, and the ship hummed, vibrating beneath him. The hangar doors slid open, and Ethan felt the gentle lift as the ship rose above the scrapyard. It was exhilarating. The wind rushed past, and the stars above seemed closer than ever. But the ship was cautious. It twisted and shifted unpredictably, almost like it was testing him. Ethan had to adapt quickly, responding to its movements, anticipating its intentions. "You're not easy, are you?" he laughed, gripping the console. The ship responded with a melodic tone, a sound that filled the cockpit with warmth. For the first time, Ethan felt true partnership. He wasn't commanding the ship. He was working with it, responding to it, understanding it. Together, they were something greater than either could be alone. After a short flight around Leros 9, the ship returned to the scrapyard. Ethan climbed out, breathless and exhilarated. The ship hummed softly, lights pulsing in contentment. He had felt its awareness, its intelligence, its stubborn personality, and he had passed the first test. "You're amazing," he said, standing before the glowing hull. "I can't wait to see where we go next." The ship responded with a gentle vibration, almost like a nod. Ethan laughed. Okay, I get it, we'll take it slow." Over the next few days, Ethan and the ship continued to bond. They explored hidden chambers, deciphered alien symbols, and experimented with communication. The ship began to anticipate his actions, shifting corridors and panels in ways that made him feel understood. And Ethan learned to respect the ship's autonomy, realizing that true friendship required patience, trust, and mutual understanding. One evening, as the twin suns set over Leros 9, Ethan sat in the main chamber, gazing at the glowing energy core. The ship pulsed gently, filling the room with warmth. He realized that he had found something extraordinary, not just a vessel but a companion, a teacher, and a friend. Tomorrow, he knew, they would attempt their first real journey into space. But tonight, he simply sat and marveled at the bond they had formed. The ship was stubborn, yes, but it was also alive, intelligent, and full of wonder. And for the first time in his life, Ethan felt truly connected to something beyond himself. The adventure was only beginning. Ethan Cole could hardly sleep that night. The twin suns of Lero's 9 had dipped below the horizon, leaving the scrapyard in shadow. The ship hummed softly around him, its energy core pulsing gently, a steady rhythm that filled the silence. He had spent weeks learning to understand it, exploring its hidden chambers, deciphering alien symbols, and discovering memories stored within. But tomorrow, they would leave the planet together. For the first time, he would truly travel with a living starship. He stood in the main chamber, running his fingers over the glowing panels. The ship responded with a soft vibration, a gentle acknowledgement of his presence. Ethan smiled. "Tomorrow we fly. Ready?" The ship's response was subtle, a low, melodic hum that seemed almost like a nod. The next morning, Ethan prepared for departure. He checked supplies, systems, and the launch sequence. The scrapyard was quiet, and for the first time he felt a sense of calm confidence. The ship, though alive and stubborn, had begun to trust him. Their bond had grown from curiosity and caution into understanding and partnership. Ethan climbed into the cockpit, settling into the seat as the ship shifted slightly beneath him. He reached out to touch the control panel and the ship responded instantly, lights glowing in harmony with his touch. He took a deep breath. "Let's go," he said. With a gentle rumble, the ship lifted from the scrapyard floor. Ethan felt the familiar hum of its energy, like a heartbeat running through his body. Outside, Lero's 9 fell away beneath them, a tapestry of mountains, scrap piles, and dusty plains. The ship moved gracefully, responding to his guidance without losing its independence. It was exhilarating. For the first time, Ethan realized that this wasn't just flying. It was dancing. The journey into space was breathtaking. Stars stretched endlessly in every direction, nebulae glowing in colors humans had no words for. The ship shifted corridors and panels in playful patterns, almost as if it were showing off its beauty. Ethan laughed, marveling at the living starship beneath him. "This is amazing," he whispered. "We're actually doing it." But the universe, as vast and unpredictable as it was, had challenges waiting for them. A week into their journey, Ethan noticed subtle shifts in the ship's hum. It was anxious, tense. The energy core pulsed faster than usual, and the corridors vibrated gently beneath his feet. Something was coming. Ethan moved to the main console, studying the sensors. At first, he saw nothing unusual. But then a distortion appeared, a strange, swirling anomaly in the fabric of space. It was massive, stretching for thousands of kilometers, twisting light and energy in impossible ways. "Okay," Ethan said, swallowing hard. "We need to be careful." The ship responded immediately, corridors shifting to create optimal positions for monitoring the anomaly. Lights pulsed in warning. Ethan realized the ship sensed the danger instinctively, even before the instruments confirmed it. For hours, Ethan studied the anomaly, and the ship responded in kind. They were working together, human ingenuity and alien intelligence combined. Ethan guided the ship through careful maneuvers, while the ship adjusted its systems in real time, its instinct and awareness compensating for gaps in his understanding. The anomaly twisted, fluctuating unpredictably. Ethan felt the ship's anxiety, a subtle vibration in the floor that resonated with his own nerves, but he refused to panic. He had spent weeks learning to trust the ship, and now that trust would be tested. "Okay," he said aloud, though the ship surely understood. "We can do this, together." The ship pulsed softly, almost like a sigh of agreement. Ethan took a deep breath and engaged the ship's navigation protocols, moving in tandem with its responses. They twisted, turned, and shifted through space, narrowly avoiding streams of energy that would have torn most vessels apart. Time seemed to stretch, seconds feeling like minutes and minutes like hours. Ethan's focus was absolute. He felt every pulse of the ship, every subtle vibration of its hull. They moved as one, human and living starship in perfect harmony. At one point, a massive energy wave surged from the anomaly. Ethan braced himself, gripping the controls, and the ship shifted instinctively. The walls of the corridors bent and warped slightly, absorbing the impact and protecting him. Ethan felt a thrill, exhilaration mixed with awe. This wasn't just surviving. This was synergy, a human and an alien consciousness working in perfect unison. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, they emerged from the anomaly. Stars stretched endlessly around them once more, calm and unbroken. Ethan exhaled, feeling the tension drain from his body. The ship pulsed slowly now, lights returning to their gentle rhythm. "We did it," Ethan said softly. "We actually did it." The ship responded with a melodic hum that vibrated through the cockpit like a song of relief. Ethan laughed, tears in his eyes. For the first time, he understood something fundamental. Together, they could achieve things neither could alone. The experience changed their relationship. Ethan and the ship were no longer student and teacher, explorer and vessel. They were partners, friends, equals. The ship's stubbornness had become a strength. It taught him patience, empathy, and trust. In turn, Ethan's ingenuity and courage had earned the ship's respect. Together, they were unstoppable. Over the next few weeks, they explored uncharted star systems. The ship shared memories of distant civilizations, strange planets, and alien creatures. Ethan taught the ship about humans, music, humor, creativity, and ingenuity. They learned from each other, blending knowledge and experience in ways neither had imagined. Ethan marveled at the ship's ability to repair itself in mid-flight, manipulate gravity within its chambers, and sense dangers long before they appeared. He realized that humans had always prided themselves on ingenuity, but here was something extraordinary, human intuition combined with alien intelligence. Together, they were a force unlike any other. Their adventures became legendary. On one planet, they helped a colony navigate a dangerous asteroid belt. On another, they discovered a lost satellite containing centuries of alien knowledge. Everywhere they went, stories spread of a human and his living starship, exploring the galaxy together, solving problems and forging bonds across species. Through it all, the ship remained stubborn, but in the best way. It refused to be used as a weapon, refused to be commanded blindly, and refused to abandon its own instincts. Ethan learned to respect that, realizing that the greatest partnerships were built on trust, not control. One quiet evening, as they floated near a distant blue star, Ethan sat in the main chamber, gazing at the ship's glowing energy core. He ran a hand over the console, feeling the gentle hum beneath his fingers. "You know," he said softly, "I thought I bought scrap. I had no idea I was getting you." The ship pulsed in response, lights forming subtle patterns that seemed almost like laughter. Ethan smiled, feeling warmth spread through him. This was more than a ship. It was a friend, a companion, and a partner in the greatest adventure of his life. As they traveled farther from known space, Ethan realized something important. The galaxy was vast, unpredictable, and full of wonders and dangers, but he was no longer alone. He had a partner who could think, feel, and act in ways no ordinary machine could. Together, they could explore, learn, and achieve greatness. The ship shifted gently, corridors bending in a way that felt welcoming, protective, and playful all at once. Ethan leaned back, marveling at how far they had come, from a scrapyard on a forgotten planet to the endless expanse of space. He realized that this was only the beginning. Somewhere out there, countless worlds awaited discovery. Challenges would come, obstacles would arise, and mysteries would test them. But together they were unstoppable. Human ingenuity and alien intelligence, trust and curiosity, patience and courage, they had it all. Ethan smiled. "Let's see where the universe takes us next." The ship pulsed in agreement, and together they soared into the stars. a human and a living starship, exploring the galaxy side by side, unstoppable and free.